There you go.
You have a child that does this, you have to keep them during, a walk.
She's playing tricks on you, so she wants.
I don't think she did it. I think I did it, but
But you can blame it on the baby. It's okay.
he just fixed it. Yeah. How's everybody? Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Good to see everybody. It's 5 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and open up our meeting. I'm going to go ahead and call this public session to order. It's 5 p.m. on June 6th. And roll call vote, Trustee Benton.
Yes. Ms. Benton, I am here. Mr. Martinez.
Here.
Ms. Moran. Mr. Munoz.
Here.
Mr. Pereira.
Here.
Ms. Smith. Okay.
We have a quorum. We're going to go ahead and move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody will please stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America,
and
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic
for
for
which
which it stands,
One nation.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. All right. We're going to go on to item 3. The approval of the agenda. We have 2 items there. I need a motion and a second to approve our agenda.
Go ahead and so move.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor by Trustee Munoz and a second by Trustee Pereira to approve our agenda. Roll call vote, Tina, please.
Ms. Benton,
Yes.
Ms. Moran, Mr. Munoz,
Yes.
Mr. Pereira,
Yes.
Ms. Smith, and Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
Thank you.
So the agenda's been approved. We're going to go on to item 4 for agenda, and that is new business. We're going to be covering item A, which is COVID-19, the academic recovery plan, and also item B, which is going to be proposed facilities projects for 2021-22. And Mark, I believe this is both your items. So.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so basically, as the president, board president pointed out, this is going to be a presentation on our 3-year academic recovery plan. And this is the plan that we put in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'll just go through this. This is basically, this is our vision statement, mission, district mission, our leadership team at the district. And to kind of give you a preface of how this plan came about, as we're all aware, in March of 2020, the district had to cease operations due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We started the year on distance learning, and we made the intent to come back next year in 21-22, and 21-22, with basically a regular 5 days a week, our normal schedule. So that's been articulated to our stakeholders. Now, one thing that I want to point out is we're getting lots of revenues, but it's not raining money. These are one-time resources, basically that the federal government and the state provided us to get things back to at least where they were pre-pandemic and where they were before the pandemic hit us. So it's hoping that these one-time revenues will assist us in getting back to where we were, mitigating the learning loss that students experienced through the COVID-19. That's the big thing as far as the learning loss for our students. So basically the presentation falls into 3 areas: programs and curricula, infrastructure, and then interim or temporary staffing. And what that means for that last one, again, when the resources are depleted, the positions go away. So again, programs, curricula, infrastructure upgrades, and then interim or temporary staffing to drive the initiatives. So there are 3 grants that we're going to work with this afternoon. You've already approved plans for 2 of them. There was the Paraprofessional Expanded Learning Grant. There was the In-Person Instruction Grant. And then there's the Extended Learning Opportunity Grant, ELO grant. The Paraprofessional Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant, ELO, basically you see the total there. And it's very specific in terms of paraprofessionals. Everything that this grant deals with paraprofessionals in some capacity. We must use this money by August 31st of 2022. Here are the uses that we've proposed. As far as there were 3 categories for use, rehire and laid off paraprofessionals. That doesn't apply to us because a lot of districts, when the pandemic hit, they laid off people. Our district did not do that. Dr. Calzadillas worked with CSA leadership, and they came up with a model repurposing program. So all of our employees kept jobs. So that wouldn't apply to us. Another thing that you can do is increase hours to existing paraprofessionals. And that's something that we're looking at. Then as far as hire new paraprofessionals, that's a use that you can look at. But again, as I pointed out, this would be temporary because these are temporary monies that must be expended by 8/31/2022. The next one, the In-Person Instruction Grant, IPI. You see the allocation there. And you can see on the screen the different uses, testing, cleaning, PPE equipment, ventilation. This is the one fund you can use to do compensation for employees, and then social and mental health services. This grant has to be expended by August 31st, 2022. Here's what we're proposing. We're going to continue our surveillance testing program. We're going to continue to provide our cleaning supplies, PPE equipment. We're going to continue to buy that. We're going to do the ventilation and building upgrades like I talked about previously. And a one-time bonus has been recommended for all of our employees. I think you're going to deal with this on June 10th on the agenda. And you can see the total amount of that grant. The ELO grant. You can see the uses there. And you can see the allocation. Again, this money must be used by August 31st, 2022. What we're proposing, as far as academic services for students, expanding our area's capacity, implementing our JROTC at Pacheco High School, building our STEM and career tech electives at the junior high level, implementing STEM at Westside, LBE, and RME, looking at dual immersion, and enhancing our district music program. As far as college readiness, we're going to offer the AVID program at Los Banos High School and Creekside Junior High School. As far as after school, our LEAP program, we're going to augment that program as far as STEM and then academic support at our LEAP sites. And then as far as extended learning time, as you're aware, we offer a summer program to mitigate learning loss. Acceleration gaps, we got textbook adoptions and prescribed cycles. We're gonna have a curriculum. And we're gonna adopt curriculum at the, in line with the cycles that the state proposes. Pupil supports and mental health, this is gonna be a biggie. We're gonna add 10 temporary wellness counselors, 2 temporary social workers, and an intern psychologist. That's a big investment in mental health. Then we also have programs to address trauma. So we're gonna add some counselors at the secondary level. And then as far as like we did this past school year, if families need support, internet support, we're going to provide that as well. And those are the uses for that money. The final pot that we have thus far is the ESSER 2. And you can see that basically the different areas are lined up as far as the different approved uses. So in line with that, it's been aligned our activities. We're going to expand our Edgenuity, like I talked about previously, textbook adoptions. And then to align as far as instruction and assessment, hiring a temporary educational information systems analyst specialist, someone to help us align all of this data. As I talked about previously, our summer laws program, addressing learning loss for students. We intend to offer the summer program. For next year, we're going to hire 9 temporary elementary intervention teachers and 4 temporary secondary intervention teachers. Mental health, we're going to hire 4 temporary counselors. And then as far as, as far as the sanitation and minimizing the spread of infectious diseases, we intend to hire 2 licensed nurses, temporary, to support our present nursing staff. I mean, they were troopers this past school year, but we're going to add to that with temporary support. Providing principals and leaders with resources to address the school needs. We are hiring 3 temporary assistant principals at LBE, Volta, and Charleston. 3 temporary coordinators to coordinate these district programs, 1 for COVID academic recovery, 1 for federal programs and learning loss and human resources, and hired a temporary HR assistant. The second one, as far as being able to keep up, these are requirements where we have to keep up with the IDA guidance. The coordinator positions will basically address these same areas. Then, as I talked about previously, as far as facility repairs and improvements to reduce the spread of the virus, any opportunity we have to use this funding to upgrade our facilities, we're going to take that opportunity. Other activities, like I talked about previously, the GROTC, the STEM, and the dual language exploration, and enhancing the music program. So to kind of close, these revenues that I just talked about, they're not to be confused with projected ongoing monies, like the May revise and the governor's budget, no correlation at all. These monies have an expiration date. If you don't use them by the timeline that I gave, you have to return them. There will be strict accountability to our stakeholders regarding the use of these funds. And then you heard me talk a lot about temporary positions. They're just that. When the funds expire, they go away. And I mean, this board meeting and as well as the different contracts and stuff that we'll put out there, we'll put that very clearly. Temporary, that's what it means. Next steps in the process, after your approval, we will to submit the plans on the state templates for board approval. We'll do the advertisement process. Any negotiations with our labor partners that any kind of pertinent details, we'll do that. Agreements with the agencies as far as the contracts. And then we have to really monitor the use of these expenditures to make sure that they're all in compliance with the intended purpose, because they do monitor. When someone gives you this kind of money, there is some accountability. In fact, auditors were here a couple of weeks ago looking at what we did last year and how we spent resources. So you don't just have a blank check. And then at the end of this, we will look and see how effective each year as far as meeting the metrics that the state and the federal government requires. Because again, they're not going to just give you this kind of a resource without expectations. So every year we'll look at how effective what we propose is. Questions?
So Mark, the very first slide said that was a COVID-19 3-year academic recovery plan.
Mhm.
All the funds, though, that we've seen tonight had to be expended by 2022, August of 2022, which is only 2 years from now.
Right.
So can you explain to me what the 3rd year is?
Well, the last fund actually expires in August of 2023. Okay, so that would be, the 3rd year would be in terms of, it's a projection. Okay, we can go up to 2 to 3 years or whatever, but that's kind of a projection. Money, but we will evaluate it every year.
I said 2022, I meant 2023, which is only, 2023 is only 2 years. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that was my fault.
But what happens too is that they've also, like we saw last year, they extended the date, even though we saw that August date. Basically, they gave, when people couldn't expend the funds within that amount of time, they moved the date until June. So I'm sure that we'll get more, we can't spend it all. I'm sure they'll give us an extension. I just did that based on the projection of how much time they're thinking it's going to take for us to get to where we were before this hit.
But we have to spend all the funds by 2023.
Right.
So it's really
Right.
a two-year plan unless we get extended to the 3rd year. Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
correct. Yes, sir. That's correct.
Excuse me.
Mhm.
I see here it must be used by 8/31/22. Where do you get 23?
One of those grants is for 2022. The one that's for 2023. The last one is 2023.
Oh, okay.
And like I
Question,
said,
Dr. Marshall. Oh,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I have a question. On the bonuses that you're gonna give the staff, Is the nursing staff included in that?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And, you know, basically, I think all of our employees are covered. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Dr. Marshall? Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the COVID-19 academic recovery plan.
Go ahead and
I'll-
move.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by trustee Munoz and a second by trustee Smith to approve the COVID-19 academic recovery plan that was just presented. Roll call vote, please, Tina.
Miss Benton,
Yes.
Miss Moran, Mr. Munoz,
Yes.
Mr. Pereira,
Yes.
Miss Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Martinez.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. The COVID-19 academic recovery plan has been approved. And we will move on to item B, proposed facilities projects for 2021, 2023. Mark?
Okay, I'm gonna kind of give you a little history. Last year, we completed a number of projects. And toward the end of last year, I knew with COVID, I mean, it changed a lot of things. But I was charged by the board to basically kind of to prioritize as far as different projects that we had left. I mean, some of the highlights this past year, we that condemned pool building over at Lofton Stadium, that was one that was torn down. I think a lot of our neighbors were very appreciative of that. We got the project at Pacheco High School as far as getting started, as far as that science, the science wing, that was years in the making. And we did some other facility projects. So you charged me with coming up with a list for future years. So I put together an advisory group, and we came together, we looked at what was outstanding, and we devised some different options. So I took that list and I shared that with the facility subcommittee of the board. That's Ray Martinez, Anthony Pereira, and Mark Bent. And they looked at the list and they said, okay, this is nice, but we want to see you do more projects than Lofton. We understand about the Lofton thing, we get that, but if you could just spread the wealth a little bit and come up with a more comprehensive list, you know, we'd like to see that happen. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I have the list that we came up that I took back to the facility subcommittee of the board. You have Lofton Stadium, that's phase one. And what's going to be a phase one of Lofton Stadium is that they're going to build the team rooms, the snack bar, restrooms for that particular area. The one thing with the condemned building, the back of the condemned building was actually the wall for the snack bar. So when we tore the building down, they don't have a snack bar anymore. So I think that's where all this came in. So we agreed to do phase one. I mean, there are two additional phases as far as the track. There's the turf, there's the lighting, there's the sound system. But the first one that we're talking about, you know, here is the necessity. I mean, the committee felt that they need this now. You got to have a snack bar now. You have to have restrooms now. So we're going to start that part first. But this is just one of several phases to Lofton. We came up with shade structures, and there were two schools. If you look at, I mentioned this previously as far as from last year, but we had shade structures done at Creekside and at Lorena Velasco, very nice. And so the facilities committee wanted to see an expansion of that. So the two schools that we had next on the list were Mercy Springs and Charleston. Now I have an asterisk about Charleston because Charleston is an older facility and they're landlocked. So I don't know in terms of the space capacity there. And so we'll have our inspector to go out and look at that. But Mercy Springs should be a pretty straightforward project. And since we've done, we have companies that we've dealt with, that should be pretty straightforward. There was also a concern to do some parking lots. So you'll see Los Banos Elementary School and Volta. Now I have an absence about Volta because Volta has two parking lots, and one of their lots was already refinished based on the work we did with the portables. That was one of the conditions to put portables on Volta's campus, they made us pave the side, one side of the both the campus. So the other side needs to be paved. So that's going to happen there. The committee also felt that we needed to, like with all the construction we had going on in the city, that we need to purchase land, not just for one site, but for 2 schools. The 2 areas we looked at were, if you look at obviously behind Target, Walmart, in that area, off of Pioneer, around Pioneer, Articulita, in that area. That's one. But then another area, as you go out past, like going towards leaving town, there's a lot of growth going there too. So maybe to relieve the overcrowding at Lorena Velasco. And at one time they were talking about in the city's master plan, putting an elementary school out there. So the committee charged us with coming up with, 2 pieces of property. One behind the area I talked about, behind Creekside, that area, and then another one going north. So we're actually looking at land for both, for 2 schools, not just one. And then finally, we had a request from San Luis High School they got 2 brand new portables. And the colors of the new portables is a very contemporary, very nice color. And they would like to see their the whole site painted that way. And I do think if that was done, it would make the site look very contemporary because they're very pretty portables. And so those are the projects that we have. Those are estimates. And the thing with the estimates is better that the estimates come in that they be somewhat higher, because I'd rather come to you and say, hey, we didn't spend as much versus we didn't spend enough. I think that's better to come out saying, I'm going to spend $8 million and then I actually spend 6. Then you can stretch your dollar a little further rather than saying, okay, board, I told you 6, but actually it's 9. So I think it's better to give you conservative estimates, which I did here. But we feel there's that from the side, I talked with the mayor, looking at our resources, we have the capacity to do all these projects over the next year. So what we're seeking is this afternoon is approval to take the recommendation of my subcommittee and a committee of the subcommittee of the board and my group, my advisory group, and then the facility subcommittee of the board. Our recommendation for these projects I have listed here.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. Any questions?
Yeah, I
I
have
have
a
a
couple.
question.
Oh, go ahead,
Go ahead,
Marlene.
Anthony.
No, go ahead, Marlene.
Okay, my question is phase 2 of Laughlin Stadium. Wasn't there a plan to put in a health class site or lab there?
Yeah, we did it. We applied for a grant for that, but we didn't get selected. If you're thinking about the same thing, we may try again. If they open it up again, we're going to try again.
Okay,
Because what I found with those grants, sometimes you apply the second time, you get it.
okay. So right now it'll stand as a locker room, Laughlin Stadium phase 1,
Yeah,
locker room?
phase 1 is the team rooms, a restrooms, and a snack bar.
And a snack bar, okay.
Because right now they don't have like the bathrooms you have there now are condemned. So they're gonna
Right.
have, and then they don't have a snack bar because when we tore the building down, we tore the snack.
What was that? Right,
You know,
okay,
so that's why we're trying to get that, at least get that done. And the committee felt they need that now. That's something they need now to be able to use the facility.
okay, I agree.
So
Any other
I have a few questions. So what right down the list, Lofton Stadium Phase 1. Is there obviously for all of these plans, is the intention to get started on all these as soon as possible?
Well, some of them are more time sensitive than others, like with the plans that have, I'll talk about the buildings first. You look, once you get the DSA approval, those plans sunset, like we found what happened with grasslands. When we had the money initially, and then when the plans were approved years ago, they expired. So we had to redo them, and that cost us about $300,000 to redo them. So the plan is once we get this plan for Lofton approved, we have like 4 years to get this done. So I mean, we want to start on that sooner than later.
So
The
basically,
same-
all of these things you're going to get started as soon as possible.
Yes,
based on
yes.
the land
So the price-
purchase and everything else.
Yes, sir. So the price doesn't go up.
Because we have the $13 million, right?
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there a contingency plan in place for Lofton to start the year? Because obviously, hopefully football season will start in August like it's supposed to. And, if you have, are we going to be turning up dirt? Are we going to have snack bars for them and a ticket booth and restrooms and how is there something set up that
Yeah,
will
we have a
handle all
plan.
this?
We do recognize that we'll have to have some type of temporary portable restrooms. What do you call it? As far as like maybe perhaps food trucks, or to have food for people, temporary snack stations. They recognize that, but that's not something that's why we want to get this done, because we don't want to impact them more than 1 year. I think they're prepared to start this way, but they want to get this. They want to have something. They don't want to see this long term. It's not a long term solution for them.
Cool. So that was my question, is that, we are going to be able to handle the crowds that are going to be at that site. We're not going to have to go to another site to hold our games. We can actually hold our games there, and we can still function if we start construction anytime soon or soon thereafter. So that's
right. And we
sounds like you have it planned out, which is good.
and we do. But I think you raise a good point. I do think we need to reconvene our group together to kind of talk about this is the plan. Not that this is going to be reality. Will this plan works? Do you still think this plan is going to work?
Okay, cool. And then the land purchase for the 2 elementaries, you're guessing $2 million. Is that a guess, or is that just we have something in mind and we've already planned it, we've already scoped it out, or
That's a guesstimate.
That's an estimate.
That's a guesstimate.
Guesstimate.
And I think what go ahead, Amir.
Anthony, I approached Hostetler, their agency, because we talked to them last year, but because of the COVID, we kind of stopped. And I reached out to them, and they're looking into some options of land. And probably by next week, I'm going to get something from them. So I already had the first meeting. I told them where I want the first land to be up on Pioneer, next to Creekside Middle School. So they're looking to some options, because I think I told them that I need at least 1 good land and 2 bad ones. So I can tell the state that here is the 3 and this is the one we want. Mm-hmm. So they're working on to something on that. So hopefully by next week, we'll get a response. So once I have that one, then I'll move into the other one for the North land piece. So, so that's how I'm kind of moving forward with that.
Okay, cool.
Good.
Thank you. And then one last question is that, so we have phase 1 for Lofton. Is there a plan for phase 2?
Yeah, there is a plan for phase 2. That's the track and the turf. Right. So we have, and once we get the architect to forward that to us, I'll get that to you. I think they only got us phase 1 so far, but the rest of it is in works.
Is there a plan to when that will actually take place? When we'll actually have work on phase 2?
Well, phase 1, the plan would be is to do the first phase. That's about, they're saying that's about an 8-month project as far as the buildings and stuff like that. The second phase, as far as the track and the turf, that's about 3 to 4 months. And it would be after, the way they have the timeline is set up, it'd be after the first part is done.
So we don't have to wait for any more money to come in to start that. We have the money to do phase 2, or we have to wait till the next Measure X money comes in, which is what, 2024?
It'll be the cost for that. I think based on there should be resources for that too.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Marshall.
Yes, sir.
We put in a new lawn and a new track over Lofton Stadium, correct?
They would like that. We haven't put it in yet.
Well, I thought we put a new lawn in a year ago or so.
No, they just basically they did some things with the existing lawn, but they have the same yard that they've had.
We didn't resod that lawn, or not sod, but reseed that lawn, that football field. I can swear that I walked it with you.
Yeah, they were talking. Yeah, they were talking about it. It's the field itself. It's the same field. We're just talking about you talk about the grass at the Lofton.
Yeah, and then the track. Okay, isn't that a new track?
No, I don't think the track is new. I don't recall the track being new. No, sir.
No? Okay. All right, then, it was just the seeding of the lawn.
Right,
Right.
right. Yeah, it was just questions about the grass. I know when we went.
Okay. So then, phase 2, we go ahead and put artificial grass and a new track, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
And then the third phase would be at some point we do the lighting and the sound system. And I think after that, then, I mean, it's not going to be total parity, but I think because basically Lofton does not have the same amount of real estate as the stadium at Pacheco has. They have more real estate at Pacheco.
Right.
But I think you can that's about as close to parity as you can get once you do those phases.
okay. All right, thank you.
Right. Any other questions for Dr. Marshall on our projects? Okay. No other questions. I'm looking for a motion and a second to
I'll make a
approve.
motion that we approve the proposed facility projects for 21-22.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor by trustee Pereira and a second by trustee Benton to approve our proposed facilities projects for 2021-22. Roll call vote, Tina, please.
Ms. Benton,
Yes.
Ms. Moran, Mr. Munoz,
Yes,
Mr. Pereira,
Yes,
Ms. Smith,
Yes.
and Mr. Martinez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the proposed facilities projects has been approved. And if there's no other questions or comments, we will adjourn this meeting at 5:31. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will see you on the 10th.
Yes.